I swear I didn't bail on you for like several months to do other things that I had to do. Promise. Pinky swear.
I recall the messages were, Steve, shut up. I'm busy. I'm big time. You need to leave me alone. And I'll come on.
Is this man defaming me on this show? Am I going to have to pull a Johnny Depp? Am I going to have to go to court and talk about the horrors of recording shows with you?
You're not going to get $15 million out of me. I'm just going to tell you that right now. It's not going to happen.
It's all for the ego trip. It's all would be for the ego trip.
I will buy you another big gulp, but that's about it.
You know what? I'd take that. Give me that, and I'm a sucker for gas station hot dogs. Give me 2 big bites with that as well.
I can afford that. If you sue me, I'm going to offer them. I say I'll buy that and a big gulp and some gummy bears, and we're done.
Ooh, okay. Got to be Albany's ones. I'll put in there. Look, it's good to talk to you again, man. Like all things aside, it's been too long. I've been owing you a show for a minute, so.
But yeah, you're a busy guy. I know you got 2 main podcasts instead of 6, like the last time. Last time there was like 8 of them. I don't even know. But
yeesh.
But you do have your USFL podcast and Inside the Walls podcast. USFL, obviously, spring football. Inside the Walls is for arena football, which when you were on Kelsey's and them the other night and you were talking about it, I was like, where's my PlayStation 2 with the arena football game? I was like, I need to find it. That game was awesome. Arena football is awesome.
I still have my copy. The second one, Road to Glory. I have that one at the house. It actually has oh my God. I'll pull him up the name because he's one of the best fullbacks in arena history, or at least that era of arena football. But it's a Chicago Rush player. I'm going to knock myself here, but damn good game. That actually is the first thing that got me into the sport, and then watching its last season in 2019, that's where I'm at now. The AFL that it's not the one I cover currently.
Right.
It's different, but they play a very similar, pretty much the same game at this point. Sans like one element, which are rebound nets. They don't have those. It's a good element to the game, by the way. It's real good. Yeah. Rebound nets. You kick the ball off at the opposite end of the goal of your opponent's goal line. The idea is your kicker bounces it off the net. The return man has to be able to accurately follow the arc of the ball and where it bounces, track it, get it, and then turn 180 degrees towards where you're supposed to run and get the hell downfield. All in that span of one kickoff. They're so chaotic. And there's a thing called a bar ball. You hit the ball onto the bottom bar of the net. The thing bounces like crazy, and so people go mad dashing for it or like cause a fumble real easy. They're the best things ever. Like the sport right now, they don't have them. They really should if they have a chance because it's so good. Just go if you ever get a chance. Look back at old arena footage.
Yeah,
you'll see what I'm saying. Look up a Rush game. Why not?
Yeah, there was where I grew up in Central Illinois. There was an arena football team there for like a hot minute, like for a year, and they had open tryouts. Cannot for the life of me remember the team though. I don't know if it had been professional. I guess it was, but even then, like you got to walk in and watch people try out. Even that, it was intense, but I loved it. I forgot about the netting. See, it's been a while.
Yeah, I mean that's the main thing. And also, I just found it. Bob McMillan,
that's
fullback.
it. Yep.
Yeah, Bob McMillan, who his last stint as a player, he won a title with the Rush, and he's considered one of the all-time greats in terms of that position at running back in arena football. So, yeah, he actually coached the Rush. Funny enough, 2010 to 2013. While I'm checking this, I'm still learning a lot of stuff on the fly, but like, yeah, the old one with the nets, it's great stuff. Like I said, it causes chaos. I love chaoticness that arena brings.
Didn't Kurt Warner play arena football?
He did. Yeah, that was back in the 90s. Iowa Barnstormers, that was his team. Didn't win any championships, but he was damn good at what he did there. It's the main reason that the Rams looked at him.
Didn't Matt Nagy also play arena football?
He also did. You're right. Played for the Columbus Destroyers.
Your USFL podcast has just taken off from what I've heard.
It's going. It's definitely going. I had a blast with it.
Because you were just on high low the other night, and I hopped on to listen for a little bit, and then I do sports, so of course I had to hop off for something. But I heard isn't it like on their main website? I think is that what you were talking about with it?
Oh, that's a little. So that one's my arena one you're talking about.
Okay.
For the website. Yeah, the USFL one. That I mean, I would love it if it was the official show. I don't know if. I mean, hypothetically, that'll be incredible. But yeah, I don't. That one is more. It's an independent from them, but I mean, we've gotten good praise from folks around the USFL, at least in terms of those that help run it or those that are at Fox Sports. I've gotten messages from those people, and it's going well. I mean, we're having a blast with it. People enjoy it. We're still figuring out a few things because, like, it's me and another partner of mine, Stefan Raychuk. He goes by the Ref as an alias. But he also runs, like, besides the show, like he runs USFL Newsroom, and that has to be a ton of articles a day, and he has to put those up. And then he's also on the side, he's doing web development near Houston, Texas. So, like, he's got a lot on his plate, So, like, we're doing, like, we used to do like one show and then a bunch of clips, and now we're doing one show a week just because it's hard to keep up and even do clips, right now. But it's good. Like, we're enjoying it. I love the league right now. It's good football to me.
Side note with your clips I tried to do myself. I'm an idiot. I don't understand technology. I just go back and watch my podcast. I'm like, oh, this looks good. Oh, this looks good. And then I realize, like, oh, it's a 6-minute clip because I talk too much.
Okay.
But is that how you guys make clips? You just go back and take something from it, or do you just film something by itself?
Yeah, so we usually will just go back in. So the way we do it, and that I've understood to do it is, like, I think of like I know, let's reference Joe Rogan here, because we've done it. When we've been on here, you and I, we do it like, seems like every other time we like joke about like Joe Rogan, someone comes up in a conversation. He'll do it where you have the main show drops. And then it's just like highlights, like stuff that, like, if you missed the show, here's what you were missing. So yeah, I mean, if you're talking like, if it's 6 minutes and that segment was like 6 minutes, or like it's an interview, take the 6 minutes out, maybe add it on like a custom front and back end type of thing, like an intro outro. That's a clip intro outro to, like, say, something like that. And then you post it up. And then what you do is you make a playlist separate so you can go through the clips. Otherwise you have the full episodes. And then we also do it where we'll record the whole episode like the day before, and then we'll do what's a premiere where you can start the show for its first time. Think of like a TV premiere of an episode on like just broadcast TV. And so you can basically, like, here's the time it airs. You can jump on. It acts like a live stream, and you can comment what's going on during that first airing. And then after that, it just becomes a video the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of stuff you can do. But the clips, those actually help a lot. And plus, it helps people get interested in your show. If we're just talking general podcasting right now, that just helps people get interested, because it's like, hey, some people don't want to sit through 2 hours. Ours are about an hour and a half long, but even some people are like, hour and a half, it's kind of hard for me to commit that whole thing. So clips, a few minutes, maybe 15, max or something like that. It's a very more watchable bite of your show, and it makes them possibly interested to subscribe.
Yeah, I try to do that. And one, I just don't have time. Two,
as you've described, very much.
Two, I'm all over the place. So, like, if I had this structured right, I'd be like, oh, we're going to talk about this, and I would know exactly where to go back and find it. Now I guarantee if I try to clip this, I'm going to go back and be like, oh, cool, we're talking about the USFL podcast. And then Steve starts talking about clips.
And asking about the show.
Yeah, and then this is going to happen. And so then it can't do it. And then it's like, well, and then the problem is I want to put them on Twitter. But on Twitter, you can't upload unless it's 2 minutes. Unless you do it on StreamYard. I figured that out. If you do StreamYard, then it puts...
Oh.
Figured that out the other day.
see, that might make a lot of sense how you can go about, because I've always wondered, there's companies that I don't know if it's companies get Twitter to do a custom, but there's a few of them like the NFL. They'll post like 5 minutes. I'm like, how are you doing that right now? I can't do that, but you can do that. Why does Twitter not just open that up?
Elon Musk might. He might open it up.
Maybe he does. I don't know. Man.
I think there's certain Twitter accounts that are allowed to do that. I think because not my last podcast one, but the one right before it I did the other day, I talked about. Can't remember the first thing I talked about, but the second thing I talked about was getting Mayer the transfer from Baylor to go to the U of I to play basketball. So my podcast was split in two. We're going to talk about college football, and then we're going to talk about. I think it was Jimbo Fisher. Like Jimbo Fisher just can't let this go with Nick Saban. Like he said something else. He said something else. So I talked about that, and then I had the basketball one. So I said, you know what? People may not want to listen to me talk about Jimbo Fisher, but the Illinois one might. So I cut it, and so I had the whole episode. And then the thing about Brad Underwood and the U of I was 11 minutes. So I put that on YouTube, and I said, but I want this on Twitter, but I can't. And I said, well, what if I just click the video, put it on StreamYard, and it takes it to Twitter. Now, it's cool. It puts the whole thing on Twitter. But on Twitter, it shows it like a premiere episode. But regardless, it is still on Twitter.
Right, because I imagine once the premiere's done, like that's just basically like the YouTube premieres. If you think of it that way, like that's all it is. Mm-hmm. It's just that Twitter, I imagine now, because you've done it's like a live stream. So basically, once it ends, now the whole thing's up there. So I get.
If you keep seeing me look down, see, this is another problem why I can't clip. If you keep seeing me looking down, my Zoom thing that I connect my stuff to, I record, and I realized when I hit record on it, it said 16 minutes, but I was like, it doesn't mean 16 minutes or 16 hours. So apparently I have no more memory on my memory card. Apparently, even though I delete it all every single time. So that's cool. We recorded this whole thing and the audio's not here. It's cool. It's a cool time.
Are we restarting it then?
No, you could pull the audio from the video, so I'm not too worried about it.
Okay. Anyway.
That's a new thing. Did I tell you that's another thing StreamYard does now is you can download the audio from it.
Yes, I got you now.
It just sounds better coming off of the card. But again, do I care? No, I'm going to upload the sumbitch and just let it roll.
Fair enough.
Anyway,
yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but nonetheless, like if we're talking just like the show I'm doing, and honestly, I wish I did this for the arena one. It drives more interest. So like, but yeah, we do clips, we do interviews with players. Although again, I've been busy, so like it's like hit or miss when I get interviews scheduled. But we've done some good ones with like some starters, like linebacker Terry Myrick for the Michigan Panthers. He was a really good interview. Actually, I met his dad at opening week of the USFL in week 1. We were down in Birmingham for that.
Right.
And because we did a live stream called Spring Stock for that pregame, everything, 4 hours, tons of guests. We're going to do another one for the championship in July called Summer Stock. That's a similar deal. We're going to go to Canton, Ohio, where the USFL is playing its championship and playoffs. July 3rd. July 2nd, I'm hoping I can do this, but otherwise my co-host, he's going to help guide a group of fans of our show that'll meet up, and we're going to do it, and they're going to do a tour of the Hall of Fame.
I've been there, the Canton Hall of Fame. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now this was in high school. This was about 2007, but that's a cool thing. That's a cool experience.
Yep. Last time I went, it was I think 2009. That was during and the only reason I remember that was it was the AFL 50-year anniversary, I believe. Yeah, it was the AFL's 50-year anniversary.
Okay, yeah.
When they were doing all the specialty refs, it was Bills Titans who were playing as the Oilers back at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they were. That's the only reason I remember it mainly was it was just like I said, specialty year. I'm kind of hoping when we get to another AFL anniversary someday we get that again. Because I kind of want that back, not going to lie. I thought that was so cool. The red and white striped unis, you got a lot of good customs that came out of that. Obviously, the shell rule, that's going to be changing next season. I'm excited for that. We're going to get all that stuff coming back.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the Kelly Green like Phillies or Philadelphia Eagles uniforms again. Oilers uniforms better be present. They have to be. There's no if they aren't there, that's a failure on the Titans organization for holding those hostage.
Oh, it won't happen on Vrabel's watch. It won't happen.
No, I mean they got to bring that one back. But yeah, like that was back when uniforms were awesome and like the 50-year anniversary stuff was great for the AFL. So
yeah,
you know, Hall of Fame's awesome. And for me, you know, if we're talking like alternative football, so in 2009, you know, I don't remember very much looking at it like that, but like, you know, the XFL football and some of its gear was there. You have the original USFL stuff. Like there's I don't know if it's the same hanging up, but it was Jim Kelly's Houston Gamblers jersey at the time that's hanging up in there. I think his helmet.
Yeah.
Like a few other memorabilia pieces. Now you're going to get like that XFL 2020. You're going to get USFL from previous, and then you're also going to get what should be the first touchdown thrown football that's going to be there as well. That was taken to Canton after opening night back in April. So, you know, for me, like alt football stuff, you're going to see plenty more of that there now. There's more leagues and everything like that. It won't be as big as the NFL things.
No,
but for me, it'll be cool. It'll be cool just to see that archive.
Right. When I went there, it was 2008 because that's when they had just put Eli Manning stuff up there that they had just won the Super Bowl for New York Giants. So they put who was the wide receiver? I always forget the receiver's name that caught on his helmet. What the hell?
Oh, David Tyree.
They had his jersey there. They had the football there. They had all that there. That just got there. But for you and your USFL podcast and all that, that'll be really cool to see all that type of stuff put in. You should do a live podcast outside of it, which should.
If we could, I mean, man, we're still figuring some stuff out right now. It's because as of today, it's going to be, man, a little over 5 weeks, which, you know, seems like a decent amount of time, but we took several months long. We took like 2+ months to prepare the spring version of that. So I'm already thinking about that, you know, but I mean, it's going to be fun. You know, I honestly, the league, like I said, it's been good play. Have you watched any of it so far? I don't know. You've been busy, so I don't know how much you've watched. Or
that's the embarrassing part is you're a football coach, Steve. You should be watching this. And a part of me is like, but Sunday's my only day to myself.
Right. And it's not the NFL season, so
I've glanced at it. I can't watch a full game. I have glanced at it because it is football. It is interesting. I was trying to figure out what team to be a fan of. Part of me want to be a fan of Michigan. Like I was like, for some reason they're calling out to me. Like, do I want to be, you know, a fan of them and like the Panthers and everything else? Like I had to think what they were. I was like, it's going to come to me. Hold on a second. You have some NFL coaches. You have some ex-college coaches. And I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. So I have glanced at it. But like, I feel your pain because for you have to watch all these games to figure out this podcast. And I try to do that with college football, and it's a pain in the ass. Yeah, even Bears games are bad enough, but Bears I get emotional, like fan attachment of like we suck, and this is what's happening, and all that stuff. But I glanced at it.
Like this year, you know, for the Bears ones, I mean, last year was like you and I were playing the pity party, like, oh, what was us? Here we go again. But like, so that's like the challenge. When I hop on, hopefully later this year with you to talk, it's not just pity party. We can like do more analytical, you know, plus with new coaching. So, but nonetheless, like you bring up a good point, like watching your favorite team versus like watching a league that maybe is new. You know, I love football first.
Right.
But like if I'm going to pick a team, Chicago's my team. Like that's flat out. It's the one that if they're doing damn good or if I'm getting frustrated more and more, I'm going to be vocal and like flamboyantly angry in person. So, you know, I get flustered about that. But like with a new league, you know, the USFL or like even the XFL, you know, I have a favorite team. It's the Panthers, like you're saying, closest team, you know. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, if they get the Chicago Blitz back, I'll cheer for the Chicago team. But anyway, you know, I root for that team slightly, but it's more about like, okay, what's the health of the league? Are things looking good financially? Are they getting viewership numbers and TV ratings every week? Do the games look good? Do people think the games look good? There's a lot of stuff that as an NFL fan, you don't think about caring for or having to care about looking into as much, because the NFL, it's been over 100 years. This is like a stable business. Right. It's making more money, has more exposure than it ever has right now. It's arguably saturated to a zenith in the US, to where now they're worried about looking for possibly expanding to international markets.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's in the series, but like when we're having people seriously talk about UK someday being an actual team, that's when we're kind of getting to like world push at that point.
Right.
Whereas the USFL, it's like, it's just a challenge to be like, okay, can it get through year one? Can it have that stance to get through year one, keep an audience, mind you, and is it good football? There's a lot more to take into content when you're watching stuff like this, and so like for me, I enjoy the game, but I also am like, man, can I just get, because like the midweek when everyone's like complaining or talking about like ratings, talking about this, that, or the other, the midweek slog sucks with all football leagues. Like spring football leagues, it's the worst. You just want to get to the next week of football to talk about that week or enjoy that week.
Right.
It's a necessary evil, but I hate it all the same, is my main complaint with it. I would rather just be like, all right, week one was awesome. Can we just get to week two now?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what the NFL's like. I just care about week one. All right, the build up to week one, to week two. What's coming up to play? It's all the play elements. I'm not thinking about what the hell they're spending on players unless it's like off season or like, the players, or like it's Robert Quinn like 2 years ago when that first year of his contract, you're like, oh God, this is gonna be a waste of me. Like something like that,
right.
Where it's like or Jimmy Graham, like you only think about money because it's like, oh, these guys spent their money improperly, but don't worry, they'll bring the coffers back up. They make good revenues each year. This, it's like, okay, I got base pay. Can they turn a profit as a league, and can they keep going as a league? And I don't like that,
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I do. I'm a masochist for this stuff.
Well,
because I just want more football.
Well, then also, how many times have we seen a different league pop up and then it goes away? Now,
oh yeah,
the old XFL before COVID, it had a chance. I think it had a real chance.
It did. Sorry. Logo. It's terrible camera shot. That was so horrible. Terrible.
I thought maybe you would have been working out, so you're like, hold on a second.
No, dude, these aren't ripped. This is pudge. This is all pudge.
Hey, that's how I am. I can't lift no more with my back. But anyway,
you bring a good point. You bring a point. Look, if you go into Twitter and you hunt down the spring football scene, there's people, like, it's a group. It is a clustered, diehard group of people that love football beyond the NFL. That's the thing. If you try and argue that XFL 2020 was a failure, well, 5 weeks in, it was doing pretty damn good. And if it had more time and Vince McMahon wasn't losing money on WWE, we could be talking about something completely different right now.
Right, because I remember, we'll get to USFL, but I remember the XFL when they changed the rules on special teams. They have to wait there until it's caught, then they can take off. That was it. It's a new thing. Reporters on the sideline. Pat McAfee is on the sideline getting real time. Like, people were like, oh my God, what is he going to say next? They're mic'd up. You can hear it. The Xbox controller for the replay, and we're not sitting for 10 minutes. It was just cool. Like, it was Vince McMahon written all over it. Especially if you go watch him on the Pat McAfee show and they did that hour-long interview and you really learn about it. Like, this has his fingerprints all over it. And then COVID hits. And you're right. He's more worried about the WWE because that's his baby. Mm-hmm. You're right. If COVID never hit, it might be huge right now. It was on its way. So I think that's right. The way you're thinking about it, is it going to stick around? But because as fan, you deep dive into it because you have a podcast. So you're like, we have to think about this stuff and talk about it.
Right.
As a fan that doesn't do that stuff, they look at it and go, oh, this is cool. It's a cool thing to watch. They're not thinking like, is it going to be back next year? Because you're right. Think of it as a small business. Are we making money? Is it on TV? Do people on TV care about it? Then at the end of the year, when the season's over, that's what they're going to do. They're going to say, okay, maybe they didn't make money, but it wasn't an upward trajectory of like, okay, next year it should be bigger. What can we improve on?
Right.
And then you got to think about USFL, and that's why I put on the ticker. What happens when XFL comes back with Dwayne Johnson? Like,
yes.
So is US? I don't know if they're going to think that, but I'm thinking that. I'm like, okay, you do well this year, you want to come back next year, but guess what else is coming? The XFL's coming.
Mm-hmm.
So are you going to be able to coincide with both? To have
That's
both?
that's the grand question right now. Is it's spring football is a very niche. It's niche. It is a niche. It is a niche area of the football market. The NFL. You think football? It's the NFL. Or maybe college would be the number two option, I think. Some people would say one or the other. Personally, I don't know. It depends on your taste, but I think the NFL slightly edges college in certain viewership metrics. So that's where I'm going to go with that. But there's still these massive juggernauts in the room. They suck up so much oxygen. And so the rest of it, like the little fragment, the diehard people that are like, well, what else can I watch? They're looking for something else. And so it's like, okay, you can get one league. Now the big question is, can you get two? And that's hard. Now there are different times of the year. So that's nice. The XFL is going to do right at the same thing it did in 2020, right after the Super Bowl. Next weekend, football's back on. And you got the XFL kicking off. Whereas the USFL, their concept was, okay, we'll give people time, we'll let them settle in. We'll wait till it's warmer so they can come outside and watch at a game. I'll credit they're not at home stadiums yet, but that's the plan down the line. And then it's a summertime activity. That's their thing, and then you bring in the TV viewership, after a few people are away. So these are competing strategies. Fox, who owns like the USFL, they're like more about cost saving right now, but they want to prove that it's a good football product on television before they go local. Whereas the XFLs, all their talk is, we're going to local markets, we're doing the best of saving money with the best of the local exposure and getting on the ground floor. So you have to follow a lot of that and kind of keep up with, how does each one play this game of chess better? Because one's going to absorb or going to suffocate the other, I think. In a perfect world, I hope to God they both survive. I am that crazy dude that every day I wish I could or every weekend I wish I could flip on a TV and a football game's on. I'm that guy that people joke about watching Canadian football, and I'm like, Canadian football is actually really damn good. You should give it a shot. Mm-hmm. And I'll get, people make, at least folks that make TV jokes about it, they'll make that. And I'm like, you don't watch the game. It's pretty good. Or I guess not Pat McAfee, where he's calling it, he calls it State Fair football. He's called it that on his show. I'm like, I don't know about that. But nonetheless, a lot of competing heads going on. Talent, I argue there's plenty of talent you can find. Right. You can make good football with the right coaches and getting people recruited. It all comes then down to, if you have more options, who's going to go to the next best option? Who's the best people going to go to? Who eventually talks their way to being the best one, and what do the ratings say as well? Who's the best broadcast deal? There's a lot of stuff at play, man. And I think like the XFL brand, people I think recept to it a little more because it's more recent. But right now there's one playing football and it's been good football. It worries me, because that's the doomsday scenario, coach, is that both of them kill each other.
Yeah.
Off of their own accidental competition. I don't think that happens. I think there's enough interest for at least one. Personally, I think the XFL proved that. It's just that who has the better business model, and who's going to be able to sustain interest or not tick off enough people to where they won't go away, because at the end of the day, you're going to get diehard fans like myself, but the NFL has that these other leagues don't. They're cool. The casual fan, the casual person, the guy that sits at the water cooler, maybe he didn't watch over the weekend, but his buddies did. That's the guy that you want to bring in. Because they're a fan because it's cool to other people that they're watching football, Right. Not that it's a niche sport. It's a mainstream sport. That's the hardest challenge.
Right. You said a lot there, and I was thinking, and now I've lost some of it. This is what happens when you get COVID twice, I guess. You get that COVID brain.
You got to slow down a little bit.
My side note, I have a podcast out there, an episode. It was the first time I had COVID, like day 3, and I just look a hot mess. I got glasses on, my hat's on, my friends are on there, and you could just tell I have like COVID brain. They're talking to me, and I'm just like processing it. I just couldn't process it. But you bring up a lot of good points. I didn't even think about the XFL happening right after the Super Bowl, because really they could coincide. I think if one starts right after the Super Bowl or a week after the Super Bowl, wait a week, one of them starts. Couldn't one of them start around that time and then the other one feed into the summer? Because how great would that be to have NFL, Super Bowl, week or so off, maybe the USFL starts in because it's spring. Mm-hmm. Then you got the XFL into the summer. I think then they could coincide with each other, because you're right. Coaches aren't a problem. Players aren't a problem. Because think of all the players in college that don't get drafted. Tons of them.
Well, like the USFL right now, they're doing a lot of signings for next year, or at least it seems that way. Where like you're seeing a lot of top like D3 NAI, like D3 NAI. I think even there's some D2s. There's even been some good like Power 5 guys that all of a sudden are getting picked up, and it's planning for next year. I mean, these guys, what's crazy. You're going to be seeing these leagues competing for talent and locking up people via contracts. So, but there's a pattern you can follow if you do it right, Well,
because that's the thing. Let's say you're in the NFL and you get cut, during the playoffs or something, like the playoffs happen, you're not on a team and they cut you. Could you realistically, since you're not on a contract, go play for a USFL or an XFL until the NFL signs you? Like, could you technically do that? And
well, I mean, the way with the USFL, here's the one what I've got right now that I know is they made a 2-year deal with players, and there was an opt-out you could take on that ends on January 1st of next year, where if you say you're not opting into your second year, once the new year rolls around, you're free to go, like completely. So they made a new addendum recently that was discovered that it also is if you leave the league for the NFL, and then you get cut by the NFL, your rights are only for the USFL. So that's where the competition comes in. So like, say you go to because you can't leave from the USFL, the XFL in the USFL or the CFL. You can only go from spring league, USFL that is, to the top league in the country. And the loophole was that if you get cut by the NFL, there's nothing saying you can't just now go wherever you want. So like you could do like a quick, say, some guys, they'll spend like 1 or 2 weeks at camp, or they'll be like on a reserve contract or something, and they'll go, and the team will go, okay, you're free to go. We got our look on you. And then it's be like, oh, well, I guess I'm purely a free agent now, so I can go wherever. They added an addendum, and this is where competition comes in, that says if you get let go, your rights exclusively belong to us. You can't go to these other leagues. So basically, yeah, like in that sense, yeah, you can return right back to that team if they want you. The fear, though, is they might lock you out. Say like that roster gets filled up, kind of gets stuck. But that's the nature of the beast right now. Now that you have 2 American leagues competing, and at the CFL, I mean, it's lesser that because of the whole ratio rules they have and all that. You can only have so many American players, but they're fighting for talent.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing. And, the one that has the best talent at the end of the day generally is the one, as long as it'll make the best football in theory, it should be in practice really. And then that makes it the most viewed version of it. And this is all in a niche corner of it too. Like we're talking like, man, how do I even express this? If we're talking in viewership numbers of the NFL, it's like less than 10% for like a normal, like Sunday top tier game, like even the lowest NFL viewed game this year, which was the Raiders Browns, how that there was a stat out there that it beat out the NBA finals best viewed game last year. Even that, like it was like 5.65 million people. Like USFL, its max broadcast, if you count the simulcast, for the beginning of week 1 was 3 million. So we're talking a niche, like a true niche. So that's what we're fighting over right now, like a 10% like crumb of the marketplace.
Right. I mean, NFL probably hates it, but probably likes it at the same time because, let me rephrase this, coaches love it. Coaches,
right? Yes, coaches love this stuff. Yes, they love this stuff. Absolutely.
Executives are like, you're not taking viewership away from us because we're not on at the same time. But see, here's what I always wanted to know: why didn't the NFL just start its own little thing? You think that'd be smart?
You would think. Best I can tell you is just look back at NFL Europe, which was their version. Problem is, and you see how the NFL is doing their international exposure now. NFL Europe was supposed to be that plus a minor league system, which means that you're spending gobs of money to play overseas. And then you're also trying to get more people involved and want to enjoy the NFL teams that these players play for. And it just didn't work out. Like the NFL, and I know every business wants to turn a profit, but the NFL, more than any of the big 5 sports in the US, we're talking NBA, NHL, MLB, all of them that have these minor league feeders. The NFL, more so than them, is dead focused on as much profit as possible, as much upward movement. So minor leagues don't fit that for them. Now, if someone else can do it for them, that's great. Like the USFL, like the XFL, where they have that partnership in terms of like some rule discussions and like theoretical things like that. That's what they're looking for. They don't have to spend a dime. That partnership with the XFL, they're spending nothing on, by the way. The USFL, they help them with their rule book. Like this stuff that helps develop the game. They hope it stays around, and then they can look for guys on the side that, hey, you develop pretty good in this league. Want to come to the NFL now? Sure. Sign me up. I'm a top tier running back in this league. Maybe I'll make an impact. And if not, you can go back to one of those leagues and go right back to what you're doing and make a career out of it. And that's the whole theory. They spend nothing, but they get the minor league system that people have been dying, that coaches and personnel have been dying to have at least for years since NFL Europe went under.
Could the USFL play the XFL? Is that a possibility?
It'd be a dream of mine.
That's what I'm asking, because that'd be awesome. In my opinion,
it'd be a dream of mine. I would kill to have a North American, like at least US based, like champion of champions type of thing. I don't know if that'll happen right now. Everyone's got their own theory of how this will go. A lot of people think that there's going to be a merger some years down the line. If one of them is around, and both are around for multiple years, like the USFL comes back year 2, and the XFL in 2024 comes back for a year 2, and the USFL's here for year 3. Multiple years down the line, thought is maybe the two go, okay, for the best of the game, it's like an AFL-NFL merger. They merge, they get the best of both worlds, they keep the best teams and markets they think deserve to exist, and they stick around. And then we get that like two competing against each other. That's what I would do. Like do it in AFL, NFL style, like the old pre-merger days, pre-1970 days, Super Bowls.
That's what I was
thinking.
Do
it like that. That's what I would do.
I was thinking that, like either schedule some, or like they play their schedules, they play their schedule. You have your champion for XFL, your champion for, USFL, and then it's like, okay, now let's get those champions playing each other. Like, I think that would be kind of cool. That's big exposure for XFL. That's big exposure for USFL. You get more people watching it, I think. They wouldn't be Super Bowl numbers by any stretch of the imagination, but it'd be like, hey, this is pretty cool. You got, especially with The Rock involved with the XFL, that's going to bring in numbers. Oh, yeah. Like, then USFL, they're going to bring in. But then you're talking about they both have to start at the same time. Then, like, we both have to start, and you're competing with each other. Like, are you gonna watch USFL? You're gonna watch XFL, and that will lead to one of them failing.
And that was the market that was actually funny. That was the market I was going to make if you didn't. Was that you'd have to match up like what's the best time of year, Right. And I think there's arguments for both. For example, February to me, it's still winter. Right. So unless you get into a dome stadium, you better start picking. You have to pick warm markets, places you can sit outside. Otherwise, like with the Alliance of American Football, they had a team in Salt Lake City. There were snow games in Salt Lake City in the early going of that season. People don't want to go out and sit to that. So you got to worry about that. Got to pick good markets. And it's funny, the XFL, they haven't announced officially, but their rumored markets are all mostly West Coast, and like one or two of them are East Coast based. The USFL is completely like Central and Eastern time frame. So like my thought is like, in theory, if you want to do it that way, say they both establish themselves and they both pick the same schedule, and it somehow goes into that merger discussion. I mean, in theory, you have an East Coast based audience and a West Coast based audience. You mash them together, you make one big alternative spring football baby.
Right.
And that's how it would work. But yeah, otherwise right now, I mean, I just want to see the XFL take off in February 18th. Like that's what I think a lot of people are waiting on is, does the USFL get through its championship on July 3rd, say what they're doing, because they haven't announced if they're going to every one of their cities yet. For reference to your audience, they're playing in Birmingham, Alabama right now, all their games.
Right.
Up until the championship when they play in Canton, Ohio for June 25th and July 3rd for the championship. And then after that, it's kind of up in the air. So Fox will have to announce, like, are we going to play in Birmingham all the games again for cost saving and we sell some of the teams off? Are we putting all the teams in local markets and we sell the teams as we go? There's rumors that we do 2 of those city-based hub deals where, like, one's in Birmingham, the other's are rumored to be, like, say, like, or hypothetically based to be said in, like, Michigan, So a lot is up in the air. I think a lot of people just want to sit and wait and see how this plays out, too.
I was going to say, one of the questions is, how does it stick around? One of those is you have to play in different places because you can't have them all play in one spot, and I understand why.
Well, Steve, I'll be honest. Like, one of the biggest complaints of the USFL, and I'll say it after seeing this season, I was wondering, they're not in local markets except Birmingham. Birmingham has been a great city. The 2 times I've been there, they love the team. They're sold on it, and they've come out really well. But it is really damn hard to sell a team from out of its area to a different local crowd, first off. But it's also hard to sell that team to the market it's advertising to if you're not there and if you're not actively marketing it there.
Right.
There's no local market pushes in Detroit or New Jersey or in Tampa Bay that are saying, hey, go watch these games. They just aren't spending that money right now. But that's just because they want to put football on. The hope is you start seeing that, because I'll be honest, that's one thing with the XFL I miss is that it felt more local. It felt like the communities were more embraced a little bit. And so I hope to see that more, because I want to go to Detroit. I'll be honest with you. The day they announce they're playing in Detroit, I'm buying season tickets. I will go to almost every damn home game.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee it, because I want to go see a team that I care for in one of these leagues. St. Louis, one or the other. Whoever announces first that they'll get it, I'll buy season tickets for them. St. Louis is only 3.5 hours from me. Detroit's a little farther, but still very manageable. I go every weekend, man.
Well, I was getting ready to say, why couldn't they just use the Rams thing? But I know the XFL was using the Rams indoor facility, but the USFL, I don't understand why they couldn't have pulled something.
I mean, it's not impossible. A lot of it's just scheduling, and then, here's the thing: do they want to compete with the XFL in a direct market? This is also a fascinating point that I'll give you here with this. Houston has a USFL and XFL team come next year. The Gamblers in the USFL, and I mean, credit. I'll retread a little bit or backpedal. It hasn't been fully confirmed by the league, but it's heavily been suggested and rumored that and shown that the XFL is going back to Houston, like TDECU where the Cougars play.
Mm-hmm.
They've already announced that they have games set and or have agreements with the league. That's on their side. So you're going to have 2 teams from different leagues competing directly in Houston, Texas. And as we talk with niches, that's hard to say which one do you pick out of a niche of a sport or a niche of a top sport in this country. Think about that. Like, so if you go to St. Louis where the Battlehawks, I mean, people talk about the Battlehawks still to this day, and they're like any nugget of rumor, they're like, it's coming back. When, that's going to be hard. That would be really hard to do.
I was just trying to think of facilities, but you're right, because St. Louis, they have no football team, so this is their football team. Like, screw
exactly. I mean, local affiliates for ESPN there, they still talk about it. Local news sites, they still write articles like, when are these things coming back? They want it back. Like, as soon as the day is confirmed officially by the league, as soon as that press release drops, they will blow up. The city will be losing their mind that this team's back. They were going to sell. And to put that in perspective, before the league was closing and I was going to buy tickets to this game, they were going to play the LA Wildcats. I think it was like week 7 it was. They were on pace to sell well over 50,000 tickets at the Dome of America Center. Think about that. 50,000. That's pushing NFL levels back at that time.
Right.
That city loved that team. It still does. Wants it back desperately.
So here's what can happen. Bears go to Arlington, and then an XFL or USFL team goes to Soldier Field. There, we solved it.
Chicago Blitz. I'm booking it right now.
There you
Put
go.
them in Soldier Field right now. Serious.
Yeah, tell Lori Lightfoot to kiss everybody's ass, let the Bears go, and then put them right there.
Be the ultimate spiteful thing. The city officials would embrace the Blitz too. They'd be like, we'll give you the red carpet. Come to this wondrous place of history that this other team left in the dust for some weird horse track up north.
And they will sell tickets.
And they would probably try and sell tickets.
Even though it may not work, because, again, people listening.
It'd be funny. It'd be the only one embraced by the city of Chicago, like their Chamber of Commerce or something like that. It'd be like the seal of approval on their website. The Bears, it's like, where's the Bears one? Well, they aren't the Chicago Bears. They're the Illinois Bears.
For the tens of listeners I get, if you don't know what Illinois looks like, the Bears are literally moving a 30-minute, without traffic. Without traffic. I cannot stress that enough.
Without traffic. Keep that in mind.
30 minutes west, like northwest. So people need to calm down. They'll still be called the Bears. I don't know about Chicago, but I still think they'll be called Chicago. It's the
they'll be called Chicago. They aren't going to be petty like back in the 80s when they were like saying, I'll fight that. I'll revoke the Chicago name out of that. They won't do that. That was extreme back then. It would be extreme now.
Call them the Decatur Staleys for all I care. Move them over there and just
yes,
bring it back.
Bring the history back.
Well, they were. What were they before that? They were Arizona. Like Arizona and the Bears are the oldest.
Well, yes, say you have because the Chicago Cardinals were also started up around that time, and then
they left Arizona.
Right, and they eventually went to Arizona. So they actually St. Louis, snake bitten city for a lot of pro teams. The Cardinals were in St. Louis for a time.
Right.
They then moved to Arizona in the 90s. I'm going to say off the top of my head, which then that's how the Rams came about, because a few years away without a team. LA wasn't working at the time back in the mid to early 90s. They move over to St. Louis, fill right in there. So, yeah, that's kind of how it fits the bill. You got them. I mean, hell, St. Louis, you want me to talk about more? I mean, Atlanta Hawks, that used to be the St. Louis team. Keep that in mind, too.
That's true.
Saying there's a lot of teams that have come through St. Louis that it's like they've gone elsewhere to different pastures.
St. Louis is boring. That's why they leave.
Oh no. I actually had a good time when I went to that Hawks game.
Hey, this was a fun one. It's been New Year's Eve in St. Louis one time. It's not bad. I'm just saying that because the Cubs had that shirt that said St. Louis is boring. That's where that comes from.
Well, yes. No, I know exactly what you're referencing with that too.
No, I don't hate St. Louis.
And then, in St. Louis, they hate Chicago because Chicago. So,
And what's across the street from the Busch Stadium? The bar.
Yeah, they got that little plaza with it's basically a ballpark village.
That's what it is.
What it is. Mm-hmm.
I've heard that's fun. You see, they have a little bit of. I will say this. Yeah, I hate going to the city of Chicago. So if that makes St. Louis people feel better, I hate going into the city. If that makes them feel better.
Oh, you kill me.
It's a pain in the ass.
don't know how much time we have left, but I got one more little anecdote for you. Because I did go to the city of Chicago recently, a month ago. And I went to a concert, one of these like one of those like club, like one of those like club-esque like house concert places. You go in, it's like a story up, it's standing room only. It was called oh my God, I'm gonna hate that I'm forgetting this. I'll look it up though. But it was for me and brother went out there. Had a good time. North side of Chicago, it's good to be out in the city again. Interesting time leaving though, but new stories every time you go and visit there.
Well, I mean, where I live now in the suburbs makes it a little farther. If I hop on a train to get there and it's not the express, take you like an hour and a half on the freaking train. Hour 15.
You're talking metro, right?
Yes. If you drive there, it takes like an hour driving.
Yeah, I got you.
Depends on where you go. I was there too a couple weekends ago. Near Wrigleyville, actually. So,
well, there you go. There you go.
Wasn't quite in Wrigleyville, but you're kind of on the outside. I don't know if I'll get canceled for saying this. It was called Boys Town. I don't think it's called Boys Town anymore, but apparently that's not what you're supposed to call it no more. So political correctness.
Interesting.
I
wouldn't have known that.
I might get canceled for that. Don't know if that's what it's supposed to be called anymore. Yeah, I don't know how much time you have either. We haven't even talked about the Bears. You see, here's the problem. I was more curious about USFL stuff.
Hey, you want to go into Chicago? That's fine. I can give you a little more on the league. I mean, honestly, like the USFL, the championship's going to be July 3rd. Playoffs are June 25th. All but you have two of the four teams that are locked up for the playoffs: the Stallions and the Generals. They're already ready to go. They locked up their playoff seeding last week. The rest of the league could have its playoffs locked up by next week if all things go correctly. I don't think they will, but the Stars and the Breakers currently have a chance to lock it up if they want. So should be good. Personally, I think that you'll see a rematch of week 1 where the Stallions and the Generals will replay they'll basically play the championship. Should be a good game to me if that's how it plays out. I have Birmingham winning at the moment, so a lot of Stallions fans down south will be real happy. This is what I can tell you. But watch out for that. NBC, Fox, USA, FS1. That's where you can go find them. It's good stuff.
I'd like to tell you I have more time to watch it, but I don't know. During my week of the summer, I'll probably watch it. I'll have weekends.
Hey, I ain't pressuring you, but hey, if you got time, you want football, I say for you at least, watch a Panthers game. Reggie Corbin, dude, he's the league's leading rusher. Dude's no joke. Like seriously, if he's not in NFL camp next year, Jeff Fisher's going to be super thrilled to have him back next year. He has been a monster.
Jeff Fisher's looking good. He looks healthy. That time away from the NFL has
the backwards baseball cap, cool, slowed down lifestyle vibes at Tennessee has really done him well.
Does his son coach with him?
Yes. He's a secondary coach.
One of my favorite, what's the show on Amazon for the NFL? I always forget this.
For on Amazon, I don't know. I'll have to check, but I mean, you say NFL show, I think Hard Knocks.
It's like Hard Knocks. All or Nothing. That's what it is.
Oh yes.
I love the one with the when they're.
I remember exactly what you're talking.
I like that one. I was just saying. I like the one when the Rams are leaving. It's the second season, I think, as Jeff Fisher. It makes you appreciate Jeff Fisher. You have this like vision of him. Then you watch that and you actually see who he is, and you're like, oh, he's not this person. He's this person. And they were actually devastated when he walked in and told him he was fired. Every player in there was just like, except for maybe Jared Goff. He was probably the only one that was happy. Everybody else was just like, oh my God.
That's unfortunate. Yeah. I mean, he's definitely vibed down. I think for you, like if you want to see Jeff Fisher where he is right now, because the league has a series that's like Hard Knocks called United by Football.
Really?
They're doing. Yeah, it's on Tubi, which is free, by the way.
Right.
Just look it up or look up the USFL. Because he did an episode, it was covering, like, half of it was on him, like why he's doing this, where his life is right now, post NFL career right now. So I recommend you check that out. And plus, it's a lot of personal stories for the players. You know, it's done well, and it's filmed by NFL Films.
Okay.
So yeah, so NFL Films worked on the cinematography for it, so you get a good gist out of it, you know, and it kind of helps you keep up with how some of the teams have been doing this season too.
Okay, I'll have to check that out. When I hear free, I'm like, absolutely. If it's free, I'm going to hop on.
Tubi's absolutely free. It's owned by Fox too, so it makes a lot of sense why it's on there. But yeah, absolutely free, man. You should definitely check it out.
But anyway, thanks for coming back on. Everybody needs to check out USFL podcast, Inside the Walls podcast, the main podcast of arena football. You can confidently say that now.
I can say that. I can very much say it.
Thanks for coming back on. Everybody out there, go check out his stuff. What's your Twitter? What Twitter?
Yeah, I mean, you want to, personal one, just at Kyleman, beat for the shows, at USFL podcast for the USFL podcast, then at In Walls Pod, again, at In Walls POD. And that's for all social media. So yeah, catch us for all that, man. Inside the Walls drops right now in season 3 episodes a week, Wednesday through Friday. And then USFL podcast every Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. You can jump on YouTube, watch a premiere of the show, find it on your favorite podcast platforms as well. So have at it, man. You got all kinds of stuff from me you can watch.
Yeah, I'll put that all.
I'm involved with that you can watch. Let me say it that way.
I'll put it all in the description for you. I'll type it all in there for you. I will go the extra mile for you and type it in. And I just want you to know the hard work of us smaller people, not big time, us smaller people, what the hard work we do, type it in the comments, Zach. I just want you to know that.
I know. I will not forget you. Anyway, I cannot forget you.
Anyway, go check out that stuff. Thanks, people, for watching or listening. Subscribe. I need the subscribers to go up that way.
Please give this man a subscription and click the bell as well, man, because you want to keep up with all the stuff he posts.
I don't know. I'm by myself. I need a co-host. Anyway, that's my problem. Subscribers have to go up, rated on Apple, all that good stuff. Zach, thanks for coming on. Thanks everybody for watching or listening. And just like Matt Nagy, we're leaving the state.